All right, we're back again today with Lone Star Grills, and today we're going to do 2 tomahawk ribeye steaks. We're going to reverse sear these. So we're going to show you low and slow, indirect cooking, and then we're going to bring this temperature up and show you how to use the direct grill feature on the pellet smoker here. Couple things about these. Reverse sear is probably my favorite way to do these big, thick 2-inch steaks. I think it gives you the most uniform color from one side to the other. And almost also, when we do it at a low temperature, we're going to do these today at 225. So we're going to do them a little bit more low and slow. So it, I think, gives you a little bit more chance to render out some of the fat. Also, it's much more forgiving than trying to cook it 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, or however else you might do it. Another thing we're going to do today is another technique I like to use on reverse sear steaks. We are not going to dry brine these today. We didn't. These just came out of the fridge, and we're not going to season them until we're done. So we're not going to put any seasoning on them. We didn't dry brine them. Just another technique, not better or worse than any other way. Just another technique. You might want to give it a try. These steaks, unfortunately, they're the last 2 they had. They're not quite the same size. The front one here is a little bit thicker than the other, which gives us a perfect opportunity to show you how we can use multiple meat probes when we cook. What we're looking for here, we're going to set an alert on our app. We're looking for 125 internal temp on these ribeyes. That's going to be a perfect medium rare. Once we hit that 125, we're going to pull these off. We're going to let them rest outside the cooker for 10, 15 minutes, maybe a little more. Little guy might rest a little bit longer than the bigger one just because he's going to cook faster. While they rest, we're gonna bring the temperature up. We're gonna slide the deflector plate over, show you how this is gonna do a direct grill sear. But I do this method on charcoal or over wood. I always, if I'm reverse searing them, I will stop cooking them because that temperature is gonna keep climbing. If you throw it right on there right away, you're gonna overshoot your temp by quite a bit. So this is gonna basically stop it right there at that 125 or just a little above, and pause it, then we're going to hit that reverse sear. Grill here today set up 225 is what we're going to do. We're going to do this low and slow, indirect again. We're using oak pellets today. So without further ado, let's get these bad boys on. These were prime ribeyes. I think this one here looks a little bit nicer than the bigger one, but that was the only 2 they had, so that's what we got. Doesn't really matter where we put these on the grill. Again, the deflector is closed. We've got our direct baffle plate right there, which is closed right now. We'll show you a little bit later when we open that up. All right. That slack out of the way. So we're going to leave those there. I expect this to take about hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes at 225 temp, pit temp, to get the internal temp of the steak to 125, being how thick they are. So we'll be back in a little bit. We'll show you when we pull them off at 125 internal temp, and then we'll show you getting it ready for the direct grill. So as expected, the smaller steak that I showed you has cooked a little bit quicker than the other one, and it's ready to pull off. We're going to let it rest. It's about 15 degrees, 12 degrees ahead of the thicker one. Total time so far is about an hour and a half since we put the steaks on. So let's show you what they look like real quick, and we'll go ahead and grab that one off. I did flip these about halfway through, so we get these marks on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that smaller one. This one's going to go for about another, I'm going to guess about another 15 minutes or so. So we'll come back and grab that one here in a second. So another 15, 20 minutes have elapsed or so, and now our second, larger, thicker ribeye has come up to 125. So we're going to go ahead and grab that, set it in the pan so it can continue to rest while we get this ready for the direct grill. We're going to show you how we do the direct grill. You can really see that color that the steak is taking on. See that dark red? You can see how the fat's taking on some of that smoke color as well. Now, these are actually done at 125 internal temp. That's a perfect medium rare, but we're going to sear them now. So we're going to grab our tongs, slide that over, slide the rack back in. We're just going to crank this to our max temp, which is 450. So what that's going to do is going to feed pellets in here. We're also going to leave the lid open because we don't want to trap the heat inside. We want to continue to build that fire. If I shut the lid, it's just going to stop at 450 and maintain 450. We really want to get it as hot as we can maintain it. So we're going to crank that wide open, and we'll be back in just a minute to show you this thing blazing, ready to put those steaks on. All right, so steaks have rested for about 10-15 minutes. We got the grill up to temp here, and so we're going to go ahead and put these steaks on and get them seared up. Also, I went ahead and put a light coat of olive oil on each of these. So we're going to let these go. We're going to probably flip them a couple times on each side until we get a nice sear on both sides. All right, so we got both steaks seared on both sides really well. We're going to take them inside like we always do with beef. We're going to let them rest. As soon as we get inside, I'm going to show you how we're going to season these after we've cooked them. Remember, we didn't put any seasoning on in the beginning. We're going to season them, let them rest that 10-15 minutes. That way all those juices come back into the center and redistribute. And then we'll slice into it and see what it looks like. Just got these inside. They still got about 10-15 minutes to go. So now's when we're going to season these. So I've got some Jacobsen sea salt. This is very, very coarse finishing salt. We're just going to sprinkle this on the top here. And as this steak rests, that salt's going to melt into that crust. We're going to hit it with some fresh ground black pepper. Now this is not the only way to season a steak. We've done the dry brine several times. We've seasoned it right before we throw it on the grill. Hit it 2-3 minutes on each side. This is just another method that you can try. I really like this for the reverse sear because it lets the meat shine. We've cooked that meat really, really low and slow. We did not change the flavor profile of the actual meat. We also did not burn any of the pepper or salt when we seared it really high. We're going to hit it with that salt, which is going to bring out those flavors, but we're going to hit that salt at the end instead of burning it, the pepper or the salt. So it's going to be a different flavor profile than seasoning it before. So try it, see if you like it. We'll be back in about 10-15 minutes. I'm going to slice these up for serving, and then we'll see what they look like. All right, so about 10-15 minutes has gone by. We've let these rest like we would typically let any cut of meat like this rest so that the juices redistribute. And to recap, from start to finish, straight out of the fridge, didn't let these rest on the counter. I never let them rest when I do reverse sear. I want the temperature to come up very slowly. When we do direct flame, fast grilling steaks, then we let them rest at room temperature. These we don't. 225 until the internal was 125, and then we did the sear. If you want to come in and take a look at the sear here, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to know that this wasn't done on a charcoal grill with the sears that we got on this steak. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and slice these up. This is how I like to slice these steaks if I'm serving this for a lot of people. Sometimes when we eat these, we'll just cut them off the bone. But on this guy here, we're going to go ahead and slice them up. If you've got a lot of people and not a lot of meat, this will make the steak go a whole lot further, slicing it up like this, as opposed to just serving one guest, one steak on one bone. So you can see with the reverse sear, we've got perfect color from one side to the other. You see the juice coming out of there, fat rendered out. So that's how I'll serve that, sliced up like that. We'll check this other one. See how it came out, being that it was a little bit smaller. We pulled it off earlier. And with our fireboard pellet controller, you can see that we had probes in each of these steaks. And each of these virtually came out the same doneness, if that's a word. So you can see, same thing with this guy. Through and through, same color, same crust on the outside on both of these steaks. So I'll come right in here to the cap. That's the best part in my opinion. Perfect. And season it afterwards when you do the reverse sear like this. I just think that it lets the meat speak for itself. When you eat a bite of it like this, you taste the meat, you taste the beef, and then you taste the salt and the pepper in its purest form instead of being cooked or burnt, which is not bad. I mean, we cook them both ways. And this is just another way to do it when you season it afterwards. And if you don't have the coarse flake sea salt like this, you can also use a coarse sea salt. A coarse sea salt or a coarse kosher salt. All of that works the same if you want to hit it with a little pepper, herbs. Once we seasoned that salt, or once we added that salt and that seasoning, if you want to hit it with some herb butter or a compound butter or something like that, that's the perfect time to do that also. You set that on top, let that kind of meld into the meat as it's resting, so that's the perfect time to do that. So for more information on the pellet smoker that we cook this on, check us out at LoneStarGrills.com. Check out our YouTube channel for more videos of us cooking on the pellet smoker and other smokers that we also make.